We are Jim and Lorene Malanowski.
And we are a story of Madison Presbyterian Church. About 22 years ago, as a matter of fact, we moved to Georgia from Ohio. And we both lived in Ohio all of our lives, and so this was a big move to come so far away from home and to be here. But we fell in love with Madison, and the people we were introduced to first happened to be people from the Presbyterian Church.
Kind of adopted us, actually. I came down to do some training in the local schools, and Brillo and Pam and the crew just kind of took me under their wing, and they took me to the cultural center events, and they were just so warm and inviting, and it was just terrific. And then the following year, Lorene came down, and they just kind of adopted you as well. Mm-hmm. Drove her around, looked at the community, looked at houses.
Because by that time they knew we were going to be moving down here. So, and we had never. I grew up a Lutheran. Jim grew up a Catholic, and we'd always gone to church as kids. But when we got married, we really didn't. We didn't go to church.
We weren't very good about it.
I don't know, I think both of us felt like we needed to, but we couldn't quite find the right place in Ohio. And I had some kind of negative experiences with some churches as far as being welcoming, especially around the communion table. So when we came here, and then we had to go to church at the Presbyterian Church, and it was like there was never a question that we would go anyplace else. Brillo and Pam and all were just kind of the tip of the iceberg as far as Madison Presbyterian Church, and everybody we met there was the same way. And we felt at home.
The energy on Sunday morning was terrific. People were, they would take you from person to person, introduce you, and it was an experience I don't think that either one of us had ever had before. I mean, it was.
And the neat thing too is you couldn't tell whose kids belonged to whom, because everybody was carrying different babies around, and they didn't belong to them, but that kind of
community
touched us, yeah. And it was that kind of community that we were looking for, so we felt really comfortable.
I described it early on as the only place that I'd ever felt the Holy Spirit. I mean, it was the kind of place that really brought out the best in everybody, I think. It was an incredible feeling, and I had gone to church all my life, but never experienced that.
One of my favorite memories just happened in the last 3 or 4 months. It was when I was being a liturgist, and I was sitting up in front waiting for my turn to read or whatever I was going to do. And I looked at all those faces out there, and I saw all those people sitting out there, and I just got a lump in my throat, and my heart, as our daughter would say, I got heart bubbles. And I just felt this welling up inside. These are the people, these are my family. These are the people I love. And that was such a neat feeling. I was surprised I was able to get up and do anything after that, but it really filled me up at that moment.
I can remember, I can't remember Larry's last name.
Engel?
Larry Engel. And was his wife's name Molly?
Yes.
They've left the church a long time ago and moved, but I remember I was involved in the stewardship campaign. I think I might have been the chairman of the stewardship campaign, and I was standing up in front of the church with Emily on my hip, and it was their first time in church, and they had listened to our story about the struggles we had having a baby and everything, and it was so obvious that, according to Larry, that we connected with the church, that it was an incredible moment in terms of his decision to join the church, their decision to join the church. And that was a real powerful moment for me to realize that our story had connected with their story in a way that really had an impact on them.
That was another thing too. We had been married for 20 years, and then I got pregnant, and so we're a couple old folks having having babies, and the church. I mean, the people in the church were just as excited for us as we were, and couldn't wait for her to come, and just, you know, she's been, I think that's part of the fondness I have and the love I have for Madison Presbyterian Church too, is the way they love my daughter and the way they helped her grow up with the church family. And she's at college now, but she will come home and she'll tell her friends at school how excited she is to go to church. And they can't quite figure out. And she said, "Mom, they don't understand. That's my family." And that, you know, to a parent, those are wonderful words.
That whole, the thing about it takes a village to raise a child, I think MPC lives that on a daily basis. I think about Kirby Hayes walking around with babies now. I mean,
still, and he was one of Emily's favorites.
Yeah. As I think about Emily growing up, the church family was just as important, if not more important to her than it was to us. And her experiences, the trips that she took, and the kinds of service projects that she was involved in, those were really meaningful to her. They were things that she talked about, and I think her experience in youth group was spectacular. I mean, she was really involved.
Well, and even younger than that, the people that were involved teaching Sunday school, there just seemed to be a lot of adults who were involved in it, and so she got to know a lot of people in the church just because everybody was involved. And we would be at just about every church function, and she just felt like that was just a normal thing to do, was to go to church. And that's, I mean, she's disappointed when she comes home for Thanksgiving break that she's never here to go to church, because she comes home on a Tuesday and goes home on an early Sunday morning. So she's always disappointed she doesn't get to go to church, because she likes seeing people. I know one of the things I hope for the church is that it will remain the loving, giving, reaching out community that it is now, because I think that's what makes it strong, and that's what makes it powerful, and that's what makes it inviting to new people, but also to those of us who've been around for a while. And if we would lose that, then I think we'd be a totally different church.
My hope is that young couples can experience the same love and support that we felt. Just the idea that you can connect with other young couples, and that we're no longer in the young adult class, but just the whole support system that provides in terms of, I can remember Barbara Conine when we had Emily volunteering to babysit for Emily. I mean, it was just people coming out of the woodwork to help us.
Just for us to go out, to be able to go out, and she kept Emily. The other thing I hope is that we continue with the small group kind of thing. When we were in Florida, they had organized small group things. I think at Madison Presbyterian Church, there isn't so much of an organized small group, but there are small groups that go on in the church. I know there's a Monday morning prayer group that I would consider a small group. I belong to the Friday morning Disciple Bible Study, and this is our 5th year of being together. And that's incredible, because the last 2 years we haven't had a pastor leader. We've done it ourselves. But we felt that strongly about each other and wanting to continue on with the Friday morning get-togethers, that's a small group as well. So they're like unofficial, they're not deemed small groups, but they are, and that's what makes the church special too, I think, is the relationships that you can build during that time with those people. And the people in our Disciple Bible Study are young, and I mean, we've got Dana Smith, who's in her 30s probably, and I hate to say people's ages, that's not a good thing to do. And we have Frank Lawton, who just has so much wisdom, and Barbara Ashburn, who's our big mama, who takes care of all of us, and all of us in between. And we have newbies to studying the Bible, and we have people who studied it for years. So it's just a great small group. And I'm hoping that maybe we don't have to institutionalize it and say we're going to develop small groups, but the fact that we keep developing the little small groups, I think, is excellent.
I think there's room for institutionalized small groups too. The Salt Shakers, in my mind, is an institutionalized, a structured kind of let's spend time with each other piece. And I have really enjoyed that. It's one of those things that I probably wouldn't have socialized with some of those people simply because we travel in different routes, different veins. But just the opportunity to get together with folks that you don't sit next to in church and find out a little bit more about them.